proposal to build a new type of battery motion control system. I need your opinion, as if this was a gift for my wife's 20th Christmas. She is medically retired Air Force, so I thought I would reveal to her who the Antichrist is, who Satan is. And I wanted to explain what was going on in the world today and why. So I wanted to share his story with you, so you would know what the real date of Jesus' birthday is according to the Torah, and ask for your help, not financially or spiritually. I need help getting this message to the right person, and I have no idea who that person is. But I have one suggestion in this letter, so please read it in whole. The ending will make more sense that way. But I need to build a machine to measure and record the end of time that was in the Torah, or condensed version known as the Bible. I need to determine if it is the 2033, as NASA believes, or is Newton right about it coming in 2060. Most people relate religion to these books, but I will prove to you it is not about religion or any deity God that does not physically exist. This is about God, who is all light without darkness. And I will not talk about religion, nor the Bible, other than what you know already. God is all light without darkness. Not much more to say. And that exists inside all the atoms in the universe, and how God is the force of gravity. So I'll tell you a story about my first cousin, 5 times removed, Isaac Newton, as well as Johannes Kepler, Tycho Brahe, Galileo, Franklin, and more about Nikola Tesla than most people know. I know everything about these people, and I have a lot in common with them. I am an Aspie with over 180 IQ, and I know the end of time is real, and will prove it to you with proof, and explain to you why this medically retired United States Air Force 100% disabled Gulf War vet was almost tortured to death losing an organ for having a PTSD attack in my own home. I have a true story to tell you about my life as a military dog. The reason you will want to read it is because it will have a big impact on your life. I want to explain to you World War III and what it will mean to you. I want to teach you about chemical warfare and explain the coronavirus that can only spread by injection or vaccination, that is used only for chemical warfare and only gives you a disease and never prevents it. They have been giving placebos up to this point in history, but with the war upon us, they are going to switch to the more deadly vaccines. And they will be forced on a nation of sheep like you who trust the vaccines not to kill them, silly sheep. Welcome to my world. And most people are not very intelligent, so they cannot figure it out. They have no common sense, proving the stupid vaccines have made them stupider. But I was intelligent enough to figure out that the United States and China's military are working together to cut down on each other's population so they can blame each other. Who is the most intelligent person alive? I am, and I will prove it. To prove how intelligent I am, I have a proposal to build a new type of battery-operated motion control system. The concept is simple. Build a machine you can use in space, in the space of the Van Allen belt, before it is gone and all our satellites get blown into deep open space. Sir Isaac Newton calculated that date under the Julian calendar as 25 December 2060. He did not pick that date because it was the birth date of Jesus Barabbas, the leader of the militia who defeated the last empire, known as the Roman Empire, for the use of money and taxation. Nor did he pick this date because it was his birthday, which was 25 December 1642. The Gregorian changed it to 4 January 1643 and then removed 10 days, making it 14 January. And in 1961, that was the day I was born, on a Saturday. Lucky for me. Let me explain this. So let me explain why this should be important to you to know. My name is Jeffrey Scott Flesher, or Flesh for short. Well, me is shorter. And flesh is meat, and meat is short for meat, so round and round we go. And if that is not confusing enough, and the Torah, or condensed version called a Bible, there is a story about how people are fooled into taking the mark of the beast, and everyone wants to know who the Antichrist is. The last Antichrist was Sir Isaac Newton. After Johannes Kepler asked Tycho Brahe what the birth date of Christ was. He said in the Torah he has, that was written during the 3rd century, only has one Jesus in it, and many other changes to the newer 4th century versions. And the Knights Templar will burn all wizards and witches alive who own this set, and they will burn them with the set. We all know that means death and being sent to hell. Not even Galileo was allowed to reveal this, so Newton wrote notes that someone bought and made public domain, and why all religions banned his teaching and demanded Albert Einstein's theories instead. They pour billions of dollars into proving it, yet over a century no one has, because no one understood it. Take God out of the universe, proving God did not create the universe. Nor does God physically exist, or exist at all. Same thing, really. So what is the end of time? Simple. According to NASA, our magnetosphere is diminishing at a rate of 5% a year. For centuries now they've been monitoring it, so do the math. By 2033, just 13 years from now, from the time I wrote this anyways, we will not have a magnetosphere. Thus our atmosphere will vent into space, blowing our satellites into deep open space, allowing a meteorite shower to wipe out most of the life on the planet. By most, I mean all those that cannot hold their breath for over 6 minutes while the atmosphere, or the magnetosphere, I should say, reverses its poles, holding in the atmosphere, otherwise it's just rushing out into space. And then survive the instant ice age, where temperatures will freeze you solid in minutes. The oceans will freeze 6 feet deep in 3 days. The end of time the Torah or the Bible warned you about? Yes, it's really going to happen. How do I know this? I am the most intelligent being on the planet of this time. So how can I prove this claim? That is with this project, so let me explain it. I will tell you a story about a man named how medically retired Jeffrey Scott Flusher was tortured to the point of losing an organ. I almost died. I'm medically retired United States Air Force helicopter crew chief in air rescue and special operations with medals, and I have pictures of them. My first one was for improving the EF-111 that my grandmother designed, the swept wing design, while working in the Pentagon. By 30% I improved that aircraft. So my second medal is in special operations for winning the Secretary of Defense Maintenance Award and making special operations a better place to live. I was a dedicated flying crew chief in air rescue operation and special operations. This means they actually engrave your name on the side of the door here. If you see the side of this helicopter, this is an MH-60 and the 66 RQS in Nellis Air Force Base. I have a picture of myself in this. This is when I was an airman. I want the world to know what these police did to our lives, making it hell to live here, and why we want to move out of this hell. 911 is supposed to help us, but that is not what happened. I was tortured to the point of losing an organ, almost killing me, and all just to make money by arresting me for having a PTSD attack in my own home. All because the pigs can, knowing I'm having a PTSD. I mean, they know it. I'm telling them. They come here and I'm frantic. I'm not in my right state of mind, you know. But will they take me to the VA? Nah, not worth it to the police in this police state. So they arrest you, they take me to jail, move me cell to cell every 20 minutes so you can never get any rest. 24/7, you know, they move you jail to jail, cell to cell, 24/7 a week. With only toilet water to drink because you get this toilet and then water comes out and that's people, you know, it's only one. I don't need to explain the thing. Then they come in, throw your food on the floor and you're supposed to fight with all the inmates to get it. So fuck it. I just didn't eat, didn't drink for a week, and that's pretty much torture, you know, cell to cell, dragging me with a chain because I can't walk. I'm a wheelchair victim, so, you know, I really don't know what I did to deserve all this, but they videotaped the whole thing, so you can FOIA it, Freedom of Information Act. At this point, you know, I had cancer, and you can definitely see it. I have 2 pictures here showing you. These are recent from the time I went into jail, but not recent now, but I circled them and I got a dash, I got a dot, dash, dot. This is God's message to me. You have cancer. My wife had to watch it be removed. So this is on my spine, to be clear. It is growing around my spine the entire length of it, and this is very painful. Not as much after the cancer is removed. My skin moves, but one above it was from the last operation. This is basal and squamous carcinoma cluster cancer. It means it's 2 of them in clusters and has a blood supply with it. They usually come to the surface as a blood blister. And they make this 2-inch wide incision across my spine, or my backbone, and half as deep. they cut out a round circle about the size of a human eye, if you know how big those are. And then they pull the skin together so it's shut. But the pigs didn't think I needed a band-aid for this. No wonder it got infected. I later had to have my gallbladder removed, and that left a, inch long, a quarter-inch in diameter blood clot, and it stayed there for a year. My body started to dilate my veins, causing all my veins in my body to turn to varicose veins in seconds. It was extremely painful. And 911 in the hospital treated me like I was crazy or having another PTSD attack, and just let me sit in the waiting room the whole time. I almost died, and they did not even try to figure out what was wrong with me because they knew it was the blood clot they gave me a year ago, and I was not worth the money to treat it then. Every time 911 takes me to the hospital, I get this blown out IV, so my veins are just shot. I mean, here's a picture of me one time. Why is because I tell these guys that I was an EMT in air rescue and special operations. They just don't believe me. So a year later, I got this, and I'm showing you with the tape measure in these pictures. It's quarter-inch wide, inch long. And what it looks like, that's actually under the skin after the attack, after being under my skin for a year. It caused all my veins in my hands to explode, turn to varicose veins, and then the veins at the weakest point, because I had a IV in my right hand, and they put it right where I have a cancer spot. I don't know why they picked that spot, man. The freaking doctors are insane. Put that IV in there. It's because that's where the vein pokes up the most, I guess, but it pokes up the most there because they're always trying to get rid of that cancer there. This is what my veins looked like after a year from a blood clot, but also a horrifying experience that happened when my body wanted to get rid of the blood clot. I have hypotension. Normally my blood pressure gets up to around 120/60 after a 5-mile special ops run with full backpack, and this is normal for me. At rest, it's usually around 100/50. I fall asleep and it drops as low as 32/16. These were recorded in both civilian and VA hospitals. I had a crash team come in every time I fall asleep, and my BP was around 179/142 in jail for PTSD, but nothing but toilet water and food you have to pick up off the ground, and all videotapes of just FOIA. This is a 1-inch by 1-inch quarter blood clot I got as a result of my gallbladder being removed because I was arrested for PTSD in my own home. May not look like much, but this is a year later. See the 1-inch scar I got while I had an IV ripped out of my arm while being medevaced out of a hot zone. I told them not to use this vein. It got damaged. Did the civilian hospitals care? Hell no. When 911 took me after the VA had me overnight for observation and scans, just to have crash teams come in every time I fall asleep, and they gave me a shot to put me there. It didn't work. My veins did something I never heard of. They would expand and then collapse in attacks that came and went. I could not think while it was happening. I was trying to keep my eyes closed while in the hospital because the images from my constant vertigo from I was medically retired for looked insane to me. I said it out loud, but thinking I was saying it only in my head as if in a dream. You are all fucking crazy. So the Renapig puts his hand on his Renapig protection gun for crazy vets like me. Told me I cannot talk like this. Freedom of speech is not a right you have, so shut the fuck up. It was scary, and PTSD attacks on top of it. It was dilating my veins and ramping up my heart up and down, and my lungs are now trash. Hurts to breathe. I had asthma as a child, but no wheezing, still to this day. So it was over. I woke up in the civilian hospital. No one looked at me, and someone hurt me even more when I was in there. They sent me home in my underwear in a taxi and would not even call my wife to come and get me. This is what my veins look like after a year from a blood clot. The white spot is cancer. The VA been burning off for 20 years now until it just won't heal. Proof of this is from NASA videos on Magnetosphere. You can follow these two links, and one of them shows you where the 5% part is. I need to record the end of time from space as well as ground, but I can't afford to build it. I wrote a book with 666 pages called The Principles of the Trinary Universe, explaining all this, and ASPE details it. Only Aspies can give. And it's for sale, and hope my wife will have an income after I die of cancer, but you can still read it for free online and print out PDFs. Of course, you can't print those out for free because it costs a lot of money to print. But this detail is only in the way, Aspies write, so it's a lot of detail, so it's not normal style for most normal or neurotypicals to read. I was trained by the Air Force to do such tasks, so I want to build them for the military, but think the civilians have the right to know why they are about to be executed in Operation Coronavirus. When my grandfather let it slip that the viruses can only be transmitted by injection, meaning by vaccination, that's where the term came from, U.S., not China. I was born in Corona. This is a Masonic order and nothing more. You can find my Masonic orders at the GitHub site for Perfect. Just go to GitHub and search for Perfect and search for Light Wizzard. Light-Wizzard with 2 Z's. My grandfather worked in naval warfare in Corona, or Norco, where I was born. From space, it needs to be outside the Van Allen belt. NASA has already explained that if we venture outside, we are under constant attack from meteorites. I know what it feels like to get hit by one. My poor wife knows what it looks like to take this picture, but would not pull it open to look inside. All you had to do is just pull my hair back, but you can see that it's just a little flap of skin there. This is hours after the police and ambulance left, and the blood stopped bleeding out. It was insane. Out giving our 2 horses water when I heard something like a BB gun and saw something hit the ground and the horse. Then I woke up on the ground with water all over me. I got up and rinsed off my hands, and then I kept seeing blood squirting out on my head. Did not hurt, never did. The rip is big enough to pull it open and stick your finger in it, because that's how I found it. The scans the hospital taken showed it glanced off my head, peeling back the skin all the way back to the skull. You look at the moon-shaped cut and how it seems like it ripped, but dissipated its energy as it reflected off my skull, because maybe due to the blood steam, since it had to be traveling in hypervelocity to cause that much damage to my neck. That was what the VA told my wife and I. We were both medically retired United States Air Force. The reports prove this. 42 miles away on the line, another person found 3 very large meteorites in their yard. Big event, easy to prove. It was on 31 May 2013, around the time The Last Magician came out in July. People thought I was crazy a year before this when I spent thousands of dollars to build a meteorite shower bunker. It was epic. So imagine I was so worried about getting hit, so I'm filling up the water buckets. The one I'm filling is just out of sight to the left of this picture below. At the same size 100-gallon tank. I think I still have it. But CB on the left and Andy's on the right. The one that got hit in the rear end. Lucky us. So I need a sea cargo container and a lot of rocks, metal, and other stuff. So I needed a way to get up there. But I already had a tractor, a big one, a John Deere 710B, as in big. You see the dirt layers to slow down the micrometeorites. All that work should have put the horses in there. Dogs always live in the house, but the horses have to stay outside. And it gets down below 0 most of the winter. I lived in Crook River Ranch. 2 rivers merge into one. This side is the little Deschutes. The river's about 1,000 feet away, but there's a dirt road. I could just walk down and a few hundred feet down to the bottom of the canyon. It leads to Steelhead Falls. I tubed it with my kids. Fun. We have a dune buggy. It's a rail to get around. We don't feel like riding horses. There's no paved road for miles. Only 9 houses you can see at night if they have their lights on. We called it J Squared Ranch for Jeff and Janine. So if God was sending me a message, it was if I wanted to hit you harder, this would not help. This would not even help. There was another sign my wife can testify to. One night I heard music. I was walking around the house trying to find the source. I walked outside and next door to a cowboy that was already asleep and was not coming from his house. So I went in the house and got my wife to come outside and listen. So she did. We sat there as I was explaining the sound I was hearing, and she said she couldn't hear it. Keep in mind, I lost over a third of my hearing and need hearing aids to hear people talk, but this is coming in loud and clear. I was around jet engines over a decade, and test stations included. Not sure which was louder at times. So imagine this. A light comes into view at a very high altitude. We were both medically retired Air Force, so we both can properly identify any aircraft. That was my job, in fact. So we both know this is not an aircraft, and did not say a word other than, "Do you see this?" We both watched it as it got into the perfect location to us, which is at its closest point. It just disappears. Its light levels did not vary and remained a constant the distance which we saw it. It comes into view, and at a distance which we saw it come into view, and where it, in fact, looking that direct. I was looking for a blinking marker light. None. Just one light source, and it was very round, very bright, and very defined. and not fuzzy, yet more like a meteorite going through our atmosphere and not skipping off of it, scaring me. So time to move. That was my sign. And our grandchildren are closer to them, so I never get enough of them. Growing up as an Aspie that did not know this till his father told him on his deathbed in 14 January 2000, the same year I got married to my wonderful wife, that God led me to. And our grandchildren prearranged. After the last 20-year marriage, I thank God for this wife. And another 20 years of marriage, and much happier, proving Satan moves in mysterious ways. The ex, as in Xmas, wanted the divorce. You asked for it, you got it. So my life has been eventful, and I understand what the Masons were trying to tell me. If I do not build this, no one will. No, some more about Masons later, but reality is what is real and what can be proven to be real. What is real, and the atmosphere is diminishing is real. So what is real? The atmosphere diminishing is real. I want to record the end of time. Regardless of what anyone believes might happen, the event is going to happen. And this is all I want to do, is record it. And to do so, I need to record it from outer space. I need to record it from outside the Van Allen belt, but still orbiting Earth, which is hard, which is really dangerous and hard to do. And I need a machine for fabrication in space. So I need a battery-operated motion control system to do tasks like CNC milling, routing, 3D printing, laser etching, PCB manufacturing using robotics. So I need to be able to build a printed circuit board or PCB with components and everything it needs to work. Test it, make sure it is working good, but also repair it should it break. This is a massive project in scope, and more to my point, it's needed at this point in time. As we all know, our planet is changing its physical poles, and in case you forgot science, a magnet points north to the South Pole is what most people call the North Pole, and this is due to a steep learning curve about how energy flows, and this is my main topic. The United States will be the new South Pole by the year 2033. This is well documented. In fact, most people still do not understand it. To prove this, I will start off by asking you to answer these questions to the best of your ability, so we can test your IQ. If you want mine, just FOIA the government about it. My ASVAB scores of medically retired United States Air Force Jeffrey Scott Fletcher. If you find scores around 99%, you can convert them to an IQ over 180. Also ask for all my awards, achievement medals, duties, which include F-111 electronics engineer, computer programmer, helicopter crew chief for air rescue and special operations. This is what you'll get, but do not take my word for it, but I will go to prison for life for falsifying government documents, and I'm not confident in my facts that I'm not going to do that. That'd be stupid. Okay, so to make sure your IQ is anything near being able to understand mine, let us see if we are on the same belief in science. So first, answer these questions and be honest to yourself. You know what your limits to your knowledge are and your IQ score, and what you've seen with your own eyes. But most of you are just too stupid to understand how stupid you are. And that's spelt with the E-W-E, so I have to explain some of these things if you're reading it. U is spelled E-W-E, and Y-E-W is a tree called Texas, which also sounds like you. But you, and you are not the same spelling. And that's why this is part of witchcraft. And to prove my superior intellect, that's an Aspie joke. Those are people who are autistic, Aspies, in the high-functioning spectrum, and the only known human species to have an IQ over 180, quite common, in fact, more for women than men, 3 times as many as my study goes. But does IQ mean you are intelligent? And the answer lies in the test, because the test is a lie. If I was to actually answer all the questions they wanted me to, I would have an IQ below 50, proving their test is retarded. So let me prove it now, with 3 questions, followed by 3 correct answers. These are questions that are basic to the humankind. What is God? What is electricity? What is light? Now the answer for what God is means what is God made of? If you answered angel, as in the angel named God, there are many angels. And Nikola Tesla said angels are lightning bolts. Even the part about them floating down to heaven, which is above us, and getting women pregnant, science proves that fertilization is just a spark, so this is possible. And lightning bolts much better describe angels. Religion is a belief is in multiple angels with different names. So what makes the angels made God? So what makes the angel named God, who is the ugliest angel of all, and Satan, who is the most beautiful of them all? So what are angels made of? The Holy Ghost. Look at the number 0. There is a hole in it. You cannot see what is in that hole, and 0 means no dimensions, and why it is round. In math, angles are used to express degrees, and the 0 degree is where it all begins, so it is in the beginning. So math has a primer, but we will call it primer. You pronounce it primer. Primer is kind of like that stuff you put on paint. You know, it's what you put on before you're going to paint it. It's what comes before. So primer means the beginning of a concept or construct in math. So get my math credits from Boise State University, or BSU. So angles. So angels, angles, or lightning bolts. Does not matter. They're all the same thing. Angels or angles are easy to see once you know the shape of the pattern. So I gave you a picture here with all the angles for each of the numbers from 0 to 9. And you can tell that 0 is round, the Holy Ghost, Spirit of Mother Nature. Math is easy once you understand the simple equation I call using angles or angels, dyslexic and autistic spectrum. So this is the God equation written in the language of the Torah or Bible. +1 plus -1 equals 0. Prove it. That was my test, so do so before I show you the correct way. Let me graph this for you to prove this truth. This is the trinary math of God as a graph. You have +1 on the top of a 2D and 3D graph. The -1 is the bottom half, and 0 is the reference line where they're equal. Mathemagician. Trinary means the same thing as Trinity, but Sir Isaac Newton hated the teaching of Christ as a deity. See The Last Magician, a 2013 BBS special. It took me getting hit in the head by a meteorite on 31 May 2013 to view this while recuperating on a Saturday, 27 July 2013. You can view it here. I'll give you a link. It's shown under the Fair Act. I should point out you might need to hit refresh on that thing. Okay, magician and wizard means the same thing, that W word again. The graph on the top shows a 0, known as God, or the Holy Ghost, Spirit of Mother Nature. We see the +1, or positive matter, or the Father, and a -1, and negative matter, or Sun, is called antimatter. And what nuclear bombs are, God bombs. The irony is that our brainwave is electricity, so our souls are too. And money is used to buy and sell souls, and everyone does that by the kilowatt, so we all know Satan is, or is it Santa? That dyslexic thing again. So where do we go when we die is easy to understand. We become the copper top batteries, energy, and that is hell. But this is my reality. And you know who I am. The most intelligent being in the universe. I am. Not joking. I will prove it. At the very end of this paper, so I will try to keep it short. Try is a strange spell for people who ramble on. So let me try to understand the graph of God. At time frame 1, we have energy starting off at ground or 0, reference line on the graph above it. As it goes negative, it had to go past through ground. Now, it could be negative when it goes in and even negative when it comes out, but I want to talk about brainwaves since that is what we're looking at. As it climbs back to the ground to pass through it again, it will then move to higher level of potential, or +1. And the bottom graph shows this in 3D and not 2D, as above it. Ground is the center of it in 3D, where +1 plus -1 equals 0. So you have to imagine a helix forming a circle. This is something people with low IQs would not notice, so on with the IQ test. knowing what I told you, some of you will still believe in Einstein. Anyway, so what did Einstein say? He took God out of the equation in math. Sure, him and Planck ignore light. Go live in Einstein's universe, where gravity is caused by centrifugal force. May the force be with you. Wake up, silly sheep. God is the force of gravity. God is light. Light is in all the atoms, so all the atoms make up the mass, and mass times acceleration is the force of gravity. Easy to understand. So why call you sheep? Well, in Psalms 23 of the Torah, people who follow the sheep, proving they took the mark of the beast, known as the sheep like you, that eat you, which is a tree named Taxus. And taxes is not good for you, so a stupid sheep would pay taxes, proving how stupid you are. But I am the most intelligent being, so who am I? What is God? What is electricity? What is light? And now for the answers. What is God? God is all light without darkness. You'll never find a Bible on the face of this planet that says otherwise. What is electricity? Electrons that are atoms with light without darkness and darkness without light in them. Very simple. That's our soul. What is light? The Bible told you it's God. I am the light. I am the darkness. I am every shade of gray in between. I am the light wizard in the flesh. I am God, and God is light. And who I am is what I am, atoms of God. Dog is the backward spell of God. Just check my dog tags. I'm military. Who am I? Is witchcraft at its best. I am is I and me. But not me. Me isn't meat or flesh. I am not God, but made of God, or atoms with God inside, and God is the most intelligent being in the universe. I am God, so I am the most intelligent being in the universe, since atoms make up the universe, and ours has God in it, by the way. My wife and I are both medically retired United States Air Force. I will try to keep this short and to the point. I will just tell you a lot of facts to bring you up to speed on what I know and why I know it, and why you will want to know it. History teaches of people like Isaac Newton, Benjamin Franklin, but there are a lot of things most people do not know about them. For one thing, Isaac Newton is my first cousin, 5 times removed. Benjamin Franklin is my second cousin, 4 times removed. And below are their gravestones, and what I want you to notice about them is that they are Masons, and not just any order, but the Ashkenazi Masonic order. And Ashkenazi is not a religion. It is just 3 tribes of Jews combined through blood. So you have the tribe of Ash, the tribe of Ki or Ka. I call it Ki, like in Chi, Ki, because it's mostly the Asians, and the tribe of the Nazi, which stands for dark, like Eve, and then the evening, the dark. So, all true Ashkenazi Masons know this story. The pretenders do not. So first off, Ashkenazis name their children after dead relatives, and why these fleshers are named Isaac Newton and Benjamin Franklin. But more to the point, they read everything. Kepler, Newton, Galileo, Franklin, and Tesla was after their time, but Tesla read what the fleshers wrote about what the other wizards wrote. Yes, I did use that W word again. Do you want proof? This country is nothing but a franchise. And the last president was the 16th, or Hex, Abraham Lincoln, who was legally executed for treason. Let me show you where I have been. I started off in the EF-111 as an automatic test stations for avionics and electronic countermeasurements, or ECM. I was trained to be an electronic engineer and computer programmer and got a medal for improving it by 30%. But as I showed you above, I brought it online a year in advance in time for the Gulf War, where it flew over 98% of all the sorties and missions. And since they were mostly flown by automatic test stations, it was actually me that was flying, since I wrote the program. And then on to being a helicopter crew chief, where I served in the Gulf War, Gulf, whatever you want to call it, Desert Storm, Vigilant Warrior, and so on, from 1995 to 1996. And then from 96 to 97, I was in Korea. And then after Korea, I was back into MOC, Maintenance Operations Center, in 1997, and was retired in 1999. MOC sits under command and control, meaning in a bunker. Physically under it, I mean. We have access to radar from the air traffic controllers, who are also part of our squadron. I was in the Air Force Honor Guard, and longtime friend of Joe Albertson's. He owns the store down the street. Maybe you've heard of it. We still shop there, so anyone can say that, but him and his wife went to the same Masonic lodge as my grandparents, and in the Air Force I met up with him again. I have done several film CNN news events with him over the years, Boise submarine dedication for one. My point is simple. I have done this type of work before and excelled in it and want to do it again, but I'm not looking to make money. I have written a book that my wife will get all the money if she needs from its sale, and it will once anyone understands what I'm trying to explain here. My cousin Isaac Newton wrote a book about the 2060 calculation, about the end of time in the Torah. Understanding, Newton said Christ was inserted into the Torah after the 4th century, and Christ means star, and Christianity means the study of stars. It's just easy to prove. Just watch the 2013 BBB special, The Last Magician. And you will understand why religion that only teaches God does not physically exist, and only as the angel named God. So not God, but an angel named God. And Christ, like his deity God, does not physically exist. Not even in history. But Jesus, who people still deny him 3 times to this day, so let me count them. 1. Jesus. 2. Bar. 3. Abbas. Bar was his mother's name, Abbas was his father's name. Imagine that. He had parents. Jesus Barabbas, the leader of the militia who defeated the Roman Empire for their use of money and taxation and our taxes and our own laws, proves treason. This proof of treason, the law of the United States of America and its code known as the U.S. Code of Federal Law, Title 12, Chapter 3, Subchapter 9, Subsection 341. You can find it at the White House. House. We gotta take that white out of there because that's racial. So it's just the House. U.S. Code. Okay, write this down. uscode.house.gov/view.xhtml !path equals prelim an @ like in the mail. Title 12 / Chapter 3 / Subchapter 9 ampersand edition equals prelim. Okay. The enumerations of Powers Act. 1. To adopt and use a corporate seal. 2. To have the secession after February 25th, 1927 until dissolved by Congress or until forfeiture of franchise, violation of law. 3. To make contracts. 4. To sue and be sued, complain and defend in any court of equity. 5. To approve by its board of directors, a president, vice president, and such officers and employees that are not otherwise provided for in this chapter define their duties, required bonds for them, and fix the penalties thereafter to dismiss at pleasure such officers or employees. The president shall be the chief executive officer of the bank and shall be appointed by the Class B and Class C directors of the bank with the approval of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for a term of 5 years, and all executive officers and employees of the bank shall be directly responsible to the president. The vice president of the bank shall be appointed at the same manner, and for the same reason as the president shall be, in the absence of the duty or during a vacancy in the office of the president, serve as chief executive officer of the bank, whereas a vacancy shall occur in the president's offices or the vice president, and it shall be filled in the manner provided for original appointments. And the person so appointed shall hold office until the expiration of the term of his predecessor. 6. To prescribe by its board of directors by law not inconsistent with the law regulating in the manner in which its general business may be conducted and the privileges granted to it by law may be exercised and enjoyed. 7. To exercise by its board of directors or duly authorized officers or agents all powered by specifically granted by the provisions of this chapter and such incidental powers as shall be necessary to carry on the business of banking within the limitation prescribed by this chapter. 8. The final one. Upon deposit of the Treasurer of the United States, any bonds of the United States shall be in the manner provided by existing law related to national banks. To receive from the Secretary of the Treasurer circulating notes, registered and countersigned as provided by law, equal in amounts to the par value of the bonds so deposited. Such notes to be issued under the same conditions and provisions of law as related to the issue of circulating notes of national banks secured by bonds of the United States bearing and circulation privilege, except that the issue of such notes shall not be limited to the capital except that the issue of such notes shall not be limited to the capital stock of such Federal Reserve Bank. Let me explain it this way. Joe Albertson is one of the smartest people I know. I had dinner with him around the holidays in December of 1992. At dinner, I was honor guard attended. I was the ranking member and the head of the table. I want to tell you a story I will never forget, so keep in mind the audience is military, government officials, and our honored guests, the Albertsons, who just toasted to the end of the Constitution. Everybody got it, but a few. So let me explain this. The first article, the dollar sign. This is a U and an S superimposed on top of each other. So the United States is actually the dollar sign. Number 2. This says that the Federal Reserve is a franchise. See, I told you I'd prove you that part. And in 1933, they dissolved Congress because they could not make the interest payments due to their huge salaries and corrupt spending. The Federal Reserve took over and started printing money and issued Executive Order 6102. It's an executive order signed on April 5th, 1933. Now, we call these by U.S. President, okay? I'm saying U.S. President, not United States President of the United States of America, because we know that Lincoln was the last one. But the U.S. presidents now start in 1933. So if you're a 33-degree Mason, pay attention. So by Executive Order 6102 was signed by Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Let me just read you this. Forbidding the hoarding of gold coin, gold bullion, gold certificates within the continental United States, and then they stole all the gold in the country and forfeited the country. And it filed bankruptcy, and we're still running under that status still, since we cannot make the bank payment. We, the sheeple of the United States, bought into this franchise with our blood, and would die defending it. And why so many pretend we have a constitution, because stupid sheep do not understand the meaning of only, as in only Congress can print money, a loophole in the Constitution, and why my family refused to sign it. and now it is just a relic. It was suspended 100 years before my birth, in the year of 1861. I was going to say my birth was in 1961, but so I was born into slavery and had no say-so as to who owns me. And me is just short for meat, so that is flesh, and that is my name, and what Jesus Barabbas said he would come back as, once again, to fight for real freedom, not the freedom the United States enjoys so much, but it's free, and sheep never get enough of being dumb. The officer looked at me like I needed to keep my mouth shut, but Catherine said, "Go on," as she squeezed Joe's hand, and tell us about the 8 enumerated planks of slavery. Okay, so number 3 is the Masonic orders. You got to remember, they're all numbered. And the first 3 are always free, and that's where the term Freemason came from. During the Civil War, the banks made a contract with the North and the South and funded both sides, not caring who won, because everyone lost the country. 4. This is the whole game. Sue. They own every court, every person working for money. The game's over. Sue. To prove this. What is the point? They own us. And number 5. First off, presidents of the United States are voted for, right? I mean, that's just obvious. Proving this, the U.S. presidents fall under employees, as are not otherwise provided for in this chapter. That is because the United States is in default on a loan they took from the bank, using the country and all its citizens as collateral. Number 6. This means the bank can have fun at the expense of all of its slaves. They own the courts and all the judges, lawyers, and the police in their army pigs. 7. This means they have the power to do anything it takes to keep banking going. 8. We, the sheeple of the United States of America, are now the property of the bank and will do what they say. Pretty clear. This can be verified. I gave you the link to prove it. While in Kuwait and Korea as a dedicated flying crew chief, who was also in charge of emergency medical technician training and chemical warfare, not to mention the fact I have an excellent in competition medal, one of the rarest medals authorized by Congress for wear on all uniforms, and in fact, the only authorized for wear on all uniforms. Less than 1% of the military are awarded them. Only 12 are authorized in a year. I think only 11 of them were given out that year, but it's worldwide. All military branches, doesn't matter which branch you're in. It's a competition. So I am one of the top M16 military competition shooters in the history as a senior airman. The year I got it, only 11 were awarded, like I said. This is my question to the world. Why did an honorably medically retired United States Air Force member get arrested for over a week and tortured to the point of losing organs, and then threatened they'll come back and do it again? I am left-handed, but I was forced to use my right hand, and as a result I use either one, but I can shoot both ways. I can empty clip after changing guns because they get so hot and shooting at moving clay targets without missing one in 100 rounds. That was my record anyways. Not sure what the real one is, but I'm now legally blind without my glasses, but still the military took away my rights to own guns or have them in my house, so I gave my guns to my sons-in-law. And I'm also undefeated in a type of fighting outlaw in the United States, so I don't need the guns anyways, but these are reasons I was medically retired for PTSD and have lived in shut-in since I was permanently retired with over 150% in ratings. I'm currently on Prozac and Remeron and medical cannabis oil. I do not smoke anything, pot included, nor do I drink alcohol. I never liked it. Social drinking is limited. On my meds, it's not a good idea. I use the drugs to help me sleep. I take them only at night. Cannabis oil is legal where I live. Been on it since 2010 after my first cancer operation. That was the VA is the one that wanted me to take it. So I have always had a license, and I do not use recreation grade, only medical grade with a license. But the deal with the federal government is coming to a close soon. I have been a member that petitioned the government for a federal license, and we want it prescription, and we want the VA to manage it for us. If you see my scars, even the 2-inch cut that goes across the middle of my spine, across it horizontally, they removed a chunk of meat the size of a human eye, cutting to the bone, but not the spine. But keep in mind, I have neuropathy in my hands and legs due to hypotension, but my blood pressure is monitored at times. Every time I go into ER and they hook me up, they send in a crash team, since it's normally for it to hover around 120/60 after a 5-mile run, and special ops, and that was timed with a heart monitor. Lowest they've recorded, if you do not understand this condition, I fall asleep, it drops below 90 and stays there, and then it flutters and it goes down as low as 50 or over 30, somewhere around there. And this was just a few months ago when I was in the VA. And it does this normally. I do yearly sleep studies with the machines hooked up. They prove I have no REM sleep. I have PLM, or periodic limb movement, and nightmares. I wake up in the battlefield. The year they removed my gallbladder after being arrested in my house, my wife got drunk and someone called the cops, who came up the mountain. It interrupted their donut break, so they were pissed, and and arrested both of us, knowing we have 2 dogs, no one to watch them. My wife made bail, so the dogs are fine. One is a black Noopy with a white angel on her chest, and the other is a Santa Paws puppy, if you've ever seen the movie Santa Paws, with Christopher Lloyd and Charlie's Angels, Cheryl Ladd. The white one is called Snowy, and on my Facebook account I have a video pinned of her. She's a movie star dog, and they did a video with her actually in it, our actual puppy. While in jail for a full week without any rights to make a phone call. They didn't even give me a way to make a phone call. They put phones in there, but you have to have this code, and mine didn't work. And no medical treatment. I had no idea why I was even arrested, or how I got there even. I woke up and I didn't remember being arrested. I didn't even find out until I got home that my wife was arrested. That is how PTSD is. I did not even know my wife had been arrested. I did not find out until I got home, wondering why I was in there. So all these pigs can make over $2 grand in bail. I did not know how I got into the cell. Someone told me I was in for domestic disturbance. While in jail for a full week, without any rights to make a phone call or medical treatment, I had no idea why I was in there, or how I got there. This is how PTSD is. I did not even know my wife had been arrested. I did not find out till I got home and wonder why I was in there. So all these pigs can make $2 grand in bail. I did not even know how I got into the cell. Someone told me I was there for domestic disturbance. That is what they call a PTSD attack. They leave me in a cell, moving me every 20 minutes, knowing I have a wheelchair or walker disability, but they're not allowed in jail. I had my second appendicitis, I should have said. I've had 3 of them total. I still have it, though. My first and last gallbladder attack. I don't know if I could say that was my last one, because my last one they had to remove it, but this was not a gallstone. It just died. I mean, I had tumors in my liver the size of a finger with all the veins and blood vessels from my gallbladder in it. I had cysts on both my kidneys. Now it's only on one side, but not that this makes me feel better. I have 2 spleens just to keep up with the pus production. So these pigs recorded my blood pressure at 179 over something insane like 142. I was dying. They told me it needs to be over 180. I mean, I had to go one more thing, just one more to get help, right? So at 179, they can't help me. 180, we can help you. So go back in there and die a little bit more. Stop your crying. I lost an organ because of the jail system and was not allowed to sleep during that whole time period, moving me cell to cell, jail to jail, county to county. I could not stand up, so they chained me and they jerk on my chains. I broke my toe and had open sores from cancer surgery. I'll show you the pictures. I want you to understand what I went through, and I did not know PTSD attacks in my home was illegal, and we do not have the money to sue, and this is just a game I cannot play since I have PTSD. The pigs know this, and know how to make money off of our suffering. And I'm done with it. Our New Year's resolution is fuck pigs. Slaughter them. Make bacon out of them. We are not going to eat it. But we are not going to eat it anymore, so stop killing the fucking pigs. You know you are next. So this year we are going to be pig free. And not just because I'm an Ashkenazi Jew who does not eat pork, but you know why. Recording the end of time will remind people how fragile our earth is. Knowing all these pigs will die will make me happy. A jail joke. Not sure they mean it, but I don't. All the hell they put me through. I hope they live. I hope they survive it. I don't know what hell's about them. I have no grudge with them. Most of them don't even know the truth, as I've told it and proven it. I have over 6 years of training on electronic equipment and over a decade working on aircraft, and a history of working as a Class B machinist with 6 years as a journeyman and as a certified welder. My name is Jeffrey Scott Flesher. I was born in Corona, California, Saturday 14th, 1961, to a Mary Lou Robertson, or son of Robert the Bruce, and Robert E. Flesher. The E is just an E, just like in Robert E. and a few others. No relationship, but the E does not stand for anything, but people try to say it did. But this is an Ozark thing, and my grandmother was from the Ozark Mountains back in the early 1600s, and my grandfather's side came from Germany in 1752 and settled in Weston, West Virginia. The city is named after my great-great-grandfather, Weston. They came over on the ship named the Phoenix. My father had the highest recorded IQ when the results were released in the Riverside newspaper the year he graduated from Corona High School. Robert E., or Lefty is what they call him, Flesher, he was born in 11 February 1941 in Alexander, Virginia, in the United States. He died 13th February in 2000 at age 59 in Corona, Riverside County, California, United States of America. I have the clips in my scrapbook somewhere and could scan it in, but this proves he had an IQ higher than Albert Einstein in high school. I had an IQ over 180 by the 3rd grade, proving Einstein was retarded compared to me. I just love to point that out. 20 points in IQ. 50 is retarded and 70 is normal. My IQ can't even be tested. Ask the Air Force, they tried. People think you need to debunk Einstein, when no one has proven any theories of his in over a century. And his theory is about an alternate universe and an alternate reality. It has nothing to do with our own reality or our own universe, since it has light in it. And Einstein removed it by removing God. Since the Torah defined God as all light without darkness, and Einstein even said in his theory will not work without Sir Isaac Newton's God as the force of gravity. And since atoms are made of neutrinos and light without darkness, and only electrons have darkness in them, since darkness is the rainbow of colors in the white light of the sun broken out in a prism, and the white and black or shades of gray are not in the rainbow but are found as inputs when recombined from a prism, are white and black and shades of gray. So my science is based on Kepler, Newton, and not Einstein, who removed light, then told you C is the constant for the speed of light. You square it to get the energy. He removed the light by removing God. That is all light. So what is he squaring again? It is stupid. And only applies to an alternate universe and an alternate reality. Who cares anyways? But Y equals MC squared works is simple if you use thing called algebra. You take F equals ma, where m is the mass of the atom and a is the acceleration of that mass. If you square the speed of light, knowing light has no acceleration, so it can only be static and never dynamic, and the universe is dynamic but not the light in it. So basically you have a being c, and when a is the speed of light, just square it. Yeah, so he just plagiarized. So this is Newton's formula and not Einstein. So this is called plagiarism and against the law nowadays. But that is where Einstein got it all, his math from thief in the patent office. And since Einstein removed all light from the theory, and why Planck ignores the light, and why Planck and Einstein only talk about an alternate universe and an alternate reality, none of their work can be applied to our universe, and that is just a fact. If you FOIA the government or the agency to get my ASVAB score, which is 99%, it's over 180 IQ, you'll find many awards, including I worked for the EF-111 my grandmother designed while working at the Pentagon, where she met my grandfather, who was a Navy submarine engineer, who died from nuclear radiation from a refit of a steamer to nuclear in 1964. My uncle worked for General Dynamics and improved its actuators and motors and hydraulic valves. I worked on avionics automatic test stations with Westinghouse in the same capacity I'm looking for now. I was paid by the military and still am. Both my wife and I are medically retired. So I'm not looking for a salary, just a chance to work via mail or phone, mailing parts back and forth, I can get a top secret clearance and sign any papers needed. My credentials are easy to verify. I am retired military, CD attached DD 214. I worked for the Orbiting Earth Observatory for the EPA, and then I went on and worked for the BLM. I have awards from both of them as a computer programmer. I do not care about patents or licensing. No, I'm not trying to make money. I have cancer. The Loma Linda VA can verify. I have skin cancer and had my descending colon and my gallbladder removed. I just need the parts, and they do not exist, and I do not have time to wait for them to be built. And after I explain why, you will understand, but I told you so much about me. My goal with you to listen to all this is simple. I'm not looking for funding. I will have to explain my reasoning, because I am about to tell you is not normal. I am not normal, but this is true and can be verified to be the truth. Common sense goes a long way. Nothing that I write that I do not prove using common sense. Records are easy to get. I gave you my DD 214. It's the only thing you need. FOIA the government. My claims are real, and I'm spending so much of your time telling you who I am and why you want to know this. I need a specific type of servo motor with a special type of brake system. I want an AC frequency regulated synchronous motor with optical and mechanical and electrical encoder that is lightweight and sealed to use in a vacuum or chemical environment. It needs thermal regulation to run the motors at optimum temperature. This means hot or cold. Heat, I need to use electrical scavengers to drain the heat and convert it back into electricity to charge the battery running it. I've never had any luck scavenging energy from cold yet, but I cannot build an efficient heat sink, nor do I want to try. It is only a waste of energy, and why someone intelligent enough would be interested in this project. I need this to run on battery. I have a really good concept for something doable, up to 30,000 recharge cycles and fast charge and discharge capability, and a way to convert that to digital frequency, basing everything from converting heat and cold into electricity to charge the battery that runs the motor. Then it needs to run in space as well as in an oven up to 110 C or 230 degrees Fahrenheit. This machine is going to be made of lightweight materials for space and needs to do CNC milling, routing, laser etching, 3D printing, printed circuit boards or PCB, manufacturing or MFG, testing, building, repair, and I want to write the software using Qt, QML, and C++ to make it cross-platform for Windows, Mac, Linux, and mobile. I can do the programming. I have many credits from Riverside City College back in the late 70s and early 80s for machinery and welding, and BSU, or Boise State University, while stationed at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho from 1985 to 1993, with the Wicked Witch from the West. Many more awards for programming, so what I want to build is an automated part-making machine for the space program, and why Elon Musk would be interested. Why you will is simple. I have a concept. I can talk and deal with your engineers directly. We sign some contract stating I'm a non-paid consulting and testing, building, repair, maintenance, documentation, procedure, and software and documentation for it, but it is what I will help with. In other words, I have to sign a simple deal. I have to sign a non-disclosure so I can work directly with your engineers. One is easy on a classified project like this. The classification is up to you. But I'm talking about aerospace contracts. This is technology once you understand what it is I want to build, it's doable, but does not exist now. The patent and copyrights are yours. I just want the parts and equipment and prototypes. I do not care if they are new. We were talking about prototypes of motors never built from scratch. I will even work on the manufacturing procedure and documentation because I want this done right. I have OCD and I'm schizoaffective, but will pass any mental evaluation required to prove I am never schizophrenic. And some might tell you that it is not possible to be one without being the other, or vice versa, and that is true. I do have that issue when waking up. It is documented. No REM sleep since '97, when diagnosed with the VA, later diagnosed as DNA damage, better known as Gulf War syndrome or Gulf War illness. I run the Vets Help Center since 1999. You can go to it at vetshelpcenter.com. With over 33 million hits and emails I have a hard time keeping up with, I have no issue giving you permission in writing to get my records and do any testing you want done to prove I'm not crazy or dangerous just because I have PTSD and a broken back. And the second time was it. Vertigo lost me my flying status as a dedicated flying crew chief in air rescue, and I'm a Staff Sergeant Jeffrey Scott Fletcher. I have many levels to this concept. The first, the environment chamber. This is a box of a unique design to test it in space and underground conditions. That means vacuum and pressure. The concept is to design motors that can run at extremes. I do not mind making this test all your motors with, so this is simple. I make two machines. I build yours first, prove it works, but no matter what, you get those parts back. So you will not be out the parts or the equipment I asked for. I will sign a receipt to that effect that is legal. Just keep in mind all this is above board. I want to prove this system works before I ask you for parts to build another one. This one is the one I want, but I'll give you all the data. This means all the imaging, video, documentation, Blender, FreeCAD files for drawings, physics simulations, and even build you one if you want it. These are test station machines. This is what I got my first congressional medal for. My proposal is basic. I want to build my own shop so I can work on this perfect machine, or a shop that has the equipment I need to do what I need to do. But I need a shop, parts, equipment, material, and so on. So it is an investment. All this goes back to whoever wants it after I die. I do not plan on taking it to the grave. I do have cancer, so your investment is based on what I can do in that time, which is to build the end-of-time recorder. I will find a partner. Elon Musk from Tesla Motors would be the person with the most to gain by this partnership. But I have tried to contact him before and never heard back. These people they never read anything you send them. They pay people to read their mail, and the first time I talked about God being real, they delete the message. So I need to find a partner that believes God is real, and that is not easy to find. I can only tell you the science of Kepler, Newton, Franklin, and Tesla. You only need to believe in them, and not Einstein. Do you have any concept of how retarded he is to people like me? 160 versus 180 is not what I'm talking about. It is common sense. You do not need a high IQ to understand God is all light without darkness. All means light. Without darkness is called reasoning. It means color. Light has no acceleration, therefore static. God never moves. Common sense. Do you live in an alternate universe, in an alternate reality? No. So why would you try to apply it to this universe and this reality? The only reason is you are insane. That's the Y-E-W-E type of you. If you do not have enough common sense to understand Psalms 23, it tells you that the followers of the Torah or Bible are Satan. The logic and reasoning does not take an IQ of 180. Only sheep follow a shepherd. Who is the shepherd is clear, Satan. Who else leads sheep into green pastures to fatten them for feast, and leads them through the valley of hell to prepare them for feast for their enemy? Who leads them to be slaughtered and makes them feel good about it? Who has to take the mark of this beast known as a sheep like you, who buy and sell souls knowing your souls are being sold by the kilowatt? We know who lives in sin and takes the mark of the beast known as sheep like you. Common sense goes a long way. Satan or Santa, what a clause in law allows treason. Well, let me let you in on the reality of the law. The military took an oath to kill everyone guilty of treason, and that means everyone that uses money not printed by Congress. So by law, they have the duty to kill everyone in the United States of America. And so they made a deal with China. They kill all the treasonous traitors in the United States, and we kill all theirs. World War III, also known as Trinity or Trinity War, is about to begin. And now you need to pick a side. I have no power in the military. At the rank of Staff Sergeant, I only know their plan from the beginning. Just after the military executed Lincoln, they started their takeover of the military and now own it and the world. They are the good guys, fighting for freedom and not freedom. Money. And this war is about to start, no one knows why. And this is clear, no one listens to people like me, Masons. My birthday was predicted right. It was like winning the lottery. Whoever is born on that date and time will be the next elected Masonic leader. I was force-fed this knowledge from birth. I have no idea why the Masons think one person can come up with so many solutions and take a bow of poverty at the same time. Loopholes like taking an oath to the United States of America's Constitution, or the U.S. Constitution is one I made. That is not normal. So few know to ask, but if you ask, you will be granted. It is a Masonic thing, so I joined a different military than most. If they did not know which constitution to ask for, they were given the default constitution that is amended to allow the banks to print money instead of Congress. The one I took an oath to said I have the duty to execute all that commit treason, so I am a supporter of World War III. Not only that, I have been unknowingly a part of a larger war. For example, if you check the records with the VA, you will find that they are hiding information. 911, my boss came in and told me the whole story on how both buildings came down. I called my wife of 20 years now to come and get me, then logged into the BLM's camera system and found images of drones hitting these targets, and the BLM police came in and we had an altercation. I walked out. When my wife called and said that she was there, I walked out, and later I lost my job and was 100% disabled for PTSD because I did not remember the altercation till years later in a dream. I have memory time frames I forget about. I have made models proving this. I'll give you links to all this information I'm going to show you. But do you see a plane crash seen here? I'm a flying dedicated helicopter crew chief trained to spot crashes sites, and yeah, this isn't one. All anyone needs to do is contact the Alphabet Soup Company, the FBI, CIA, military. All have records on me. They all know what I have been saying on my websites, like the Light Wizzard, Vets Help Center, The Last Outpost, Trinary Science, Trinary Universe, and my YouTube channel, Light Wizzard, and Vets Help Center. And look at how long I've been saying it, And stupid people, they leave stupid comments. Here's a picture of 911, the Twin Towers, and you can see the beams are cut at angles. That's for thermite. Yeah, that's how they brought the building down. You don't need to be Einstein to point that at thermal cutout. So what is wrong with these images? The size, you take a size of an aircraft and you look, and there's no way that it'll fit in these holes. Here's a picture of a plane ghosting into a building. It doesn't hit it. It just ghosts right into it. No parts fly off of it. No windows get broken. Nothing. It just disappears into it. The ghosting aircraft explains how it impacts, and no signs of causing crunching. I mean, this is just insane stuff. See the view of the building and their perspectives. You just can't take those shots from Battery Park. So you have to explain, how this is possible. Is that a woman we can identify by name? Yeah, it is. Ask her. She's standing in a place where an airline just flew through. I mean, how is that possible? Here's a picture of what happens when a bomber hits the Empire State Building. Here's a picture of an engine they want you to believe came out of that aircraft. Well, this is what it looks like with somebody standing inside of the engine. This one you can sit on top of, but this one you can't even stand in. These engines are huge. This is the wheel they show you came off the aircraft. This is the size it's supposed to be. They're lying to you about everything, about all these plane parts. Here's a picture of a Oklahoma City bombing. They put a truck in the middle of a parking lot and blow up every building around it. It's okay except for the Oklahoma City building. I mean, these are impossible physics. You can see in this picture that this is a drone that hits and not a jet airliner. You see in this picture another person that's standing there. Do you believe these people would still be sitting at their desk after an airline flew through it? Do you believe these burn marks in a straight line are part of the whole? I mean, that should be the clue. You know what a clue looks like? Why is the hatchet guy in prison for life for being raped by a New York lawyer? This is what I want to know. Why is this dog and Wizzard try to tell sheep the truth, but they deny it? This is on our 20th Christmas together, and my wife and I, till death do we part. I love you, my Nini, my sheep named Nini. I love you, I do. I told you this morning of 25 December 2020 that in hindsight, Jesus Barabbas was born on 14 January, so I'll wait till then to celebrate his birthday. With you, my Nini. So let's have a happy new year. Start a chapter of our life. The dogs and my Nini are all that I need. But a shop I need if the sheep are to survive, and Jesus Barabbas said he would come back as a dog named Flesh. Both our military dogs say Flesh. Or was that the Terminator? I'll be back in the flesh. I love our children and our grandchildren, but I'm done pretending the United States Constitution was amended to allow treason, and the Trinary War has begun. And we are on the side of God, who is all light without darkness, and the military took an oath to defend and protect it, so we will, just like it states. Only Congress can print money. This is for the Kennedys. I will not let his execution go unknown. The bankers had him executed by his own army to see if money can pay for loyalty to the bank. I would do the same for free and execute anybody that uses money not printed by Congress. And that is what JFK was executed for, not by printing it by Congress, but by allowing them to continue to allow the banks to print it. The military and militia owned it, and it does. Not even the military would deny that. Not a bad thing, but required by law. So just a fact. And we military know this, but the world does not get it. So my present to you on this day is to promise we will move this year, regardless of my fear of lower altitudes and what I know will be flooded first. This is the first sign of the Torah and Bible that you know I regard as the truth about the universe if you only take it literally, and only autistic people do. So let me try to ask others for help in our time of need, regardless of if you ever want to believe I was the chosen one in the Torah or Bible. The fact is, I was born on Saturday, 14th January, 1961 at 1832 or 6:32 p.m. in Krona, and to a Masonic family dating back to the Jesus Barabbas' bloodline of Ashkenazis. Add a century to it, and it is 14 January 2061, 6:32 p.m., just like Newton calculated. And Sir Isaac Newton's calculation is the same as my first cousin 5 times removed, Isaac Newton, so I did not make this up. Nor his son, Benjamin Franklin, who wrote about how this came from the Torah and Bible, and is still in them to this day. They only inserted Christ so sheep like you would take the mark of the beast and feel good about being slaughtered in the end of time for using money printed by Congress. I was ordered to. I follow orders. JFK was ordered to stop using bank money, and Congress refused to, so they had him executed by his own men after they found out his brother was going to go along with all the plan and run for president after him and make sure they never borrowed any more money again by increasing our national debt. So I want to put an end to talk about money and get on with life. NASA has proven our timeline is now pushed to sometime in 2033, so I need to ensure we can record this event no matter what anyone thinks will happen at that time or after it, which I will stick to Sir Isaac Newton's calculation and pray to my God, who is all light without darkness, that date is right, so we will be left more time, and to assure everyone knows what is about to happen is real science, and that is hard to make you understand. Einstein is not real science, it's science fiction, and my Nini knows I love it, but not my trinary science. My Nini knows all this by heart, and I love my Nini and all of my heart. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas marks the X, marks the beast known as sheep like you, so Merry Christmas to you who took the mark of the beast known as sheep like you. Merry Christmas to you, and many, many more, and a Happy New Year, because we are moving out of here and moving on to no green grass on the other side of this hill, or hell we call home. So Merry Christmas, you mountain goats, and Happy New Year to all of you.